So I'm here at Livingston Mall, and while I show you the mall, I'd like to talk to you a bit about consumer credit law, or credit repairing, as people call it. I want people to know that that is not just repairing somebody's, incorrect information on a person's credit report, or information that is being incorrectly published to others. It's much more than that. It's also debt deletion, because you're disputing and possibly eliminating, erasing a person's liability on a debt, basically. So it's credit repairing and debt deletion, is what that is. And I believe because it's so serious, it's such a vital part of people's economic growth, that people should have substantial knowledge of credit repairing and debt deletion. They should have substantial knowledge in administrative law. For instance, because administrative law or administrative agencies, government agencies, are the ones who regulate banks, who regulates the credit bureaus, who regulates the debt collectors. So it would be vital to understand that you must know administrative law to properly represent, represent and assist people in their dispute process with credit bureaus and debt collectors, and the banks, and so forth. Because knowing administrative law, it means that you'll know how the administrative agency is supposed to act, what your rights are before those agencies when they're dealing with the debt collector, or when they're dealing with the credit bureaus, and so forth. So credit repairing is not just knowing some information from the Fair Credit Reporting Act or from the federal the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. It's basically knowing numerous areas of law. And I just mentioned one additional one, which is administrative law, and the other one is contract law. Guess what? You were in the debt, or the information being published was published because of a contract. You signed a contract, entered into a contract, or may have entered into a contract, or a contract is being alleged against you for the credit card debt, or for the car loan, or for the mortgage. So if you don't know contract law, how would you be able to properly assist the person in disputing issues with the credit bureaus, and issues with the credit bureaus, and issues with the bank, and so forth? So you have to know contract law, and it's not just the formation of a contract. It's not just offer, acceptance, and consideration. It's much more than that. You have to know defenses to formation. You have to know excuses and so forth for excuses to performance of the contract, and all those areas that you'd need to know in order to properly help somebody dispute incorrect information on their credit report, or debt on their credit report. You need to know these things. Not only that, you also will need to know torts. You'll need to know whether that if the entities, credit bureaus, the debt collector, the furnisher of the information, which is the credit card company, or the bank, actually provided proper information, and I just lost my train of thought. There was this lady just staring at me. But back to what I was saying. You know torts. If you know torts, a substantial amount of torts, you will know if the person or the entity violated, a tort. In your case, basically. So if they violated a tort in your case, then you may be able to, well, you definitely would be able to sue if somebody violated a tort or your tort right. For instance, two of the torts that come to mind that may happen during a relationship with a debt collector is false light, for instance, or defamation, for instance, because they're publishing incorrect information or derogatory information or defamatory information against you to third parties, basically causing you damages. Or the information that they're doing is wrong and they intruded into your seclusion. That's another tort. Or they know that you're seeking a job from, let's say you want to be an FBI agent. And when you're an FBI agent, they look at your credit report to determine whether they're going to accept you or not. Or you're working at a bank and they look at your credit report to determine if they're going to hire you or not. That might be an intentional interference of economic advantage, which is a tort. So credit repairing is not just knowing a few things in the FCRA or the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. It is also knowing other forms of related law. And those other forms of related law, like I said, is administrative law, contract law, tort, and even civil procedures, basically, would be relevant for you to know. So those areas, credit repair agencies that are taking money from people, the people that are doing credit repairing should actually have some, I would say, substantial knowledge in these areas to be able to properly assist people in their credit repairing needs. And that's what I have, basically. So you have to go to these places that actually have people who are trained. And I'm not saying you have to be like me and been to law school and complete law school. I'm saying that you have to have proper, adequate training when you're doing credit repairing, basically. So I'm not going to say everybody is lucky enough to get into law school and able to pay for law school and stuff like that. I understand that, and I understand that people can actually learn in different settings. It doesn't have to be in law school. So the most important thing that I'm trying to say is the persons repairing your credit must have substantive knowledge or substantial knowledge in these areas of law. And I'm not saying you have to be went to law school or completed law school, like myself. I'm just saying you have to have the knowledge. However you got it, you have to have it, and it must be adequate and correct. So credit repairing and debt deletion is not just about knowing the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which is federal, or the Fair Credit, the FCRA, but also each state also have their own consumer credit law. So not only must you know the federal law, you also have to know the state's law pertaining to the situation, basically. So credit repairing is a serious matter. It's also it's also debt deletion. I also want to give you an example of how important it is. I've actually had a situation where a debt collector violated the rights of one of my clients. So this client, actually, they already had a judgment on default, and also garnished the person's salary for many years until it was paid off. 3 years after the last payment, she met me, or she was referred to me. So she came to me for services, and when she came for services, I immediately saw errors. And I sent a letter to the debt collector immediately stating that you have violated this woman's right. So what they did is they sent back $15,000, which is what they garnished from her, they sent back $15,000 back to her that they garnished from her and removed the items from the credit report. So you have to, and this, the defense or the reason wasn't one listed in the FCRA or the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. It was another section of law, basically. So not only did I get the item removed, I also got her $15,000 back. And the nurse can thank me. Well, she did, and she thanked me pretty well, too. And not only that, there's also a pastor in New York, Pastor Needham, had a similar situation where they said, they violated his rights to, and what they did, they sent us a letter stating, if you agree not to sue us, we will delete the debt. So I wrote back and stated that we're not going to agree to anything like that. We're not going to agree to that. However, you violated the law, so you should delete the debt. So we didn't agree to it, but they still did what they were supposed to do, which is to remove the debt from his credit report. So my point of stating this is that repairing credit is not just about the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It's not just about that. It's about various areas of law. It's about administrative law. It's about tort law. It's about contract law. It's about civil procedure. It's about different areas. So if you don't know these things, you should not be repairing people's credit saying that you can if you don't know these vital, relevant areas of law. And for that, I also want to put my page, my information back up for you to have access to me and my services. And all I'm saying is, if you have credit and debt issues, don't just be going to anybody who said they can repair credit. Go to people with the knowledge. Again, I'm not saying you must have somebody that attended law school. It doesn't have to be, but at least they must have the information that they can really, truly help you with the issues that you have. So please, just be informed. I'm not trying to take away people's customers and clients, but I want everybody to get proper assistance to the problem that they have. Because I have experienced people who have come to hire me and said they have gone to various people for assistance and nothing ever happened, but they keep paying these people, keep paying over and over, and nothing is happening. And I'm like,